worked there, he'd be coming in and fixing stuff outside and this kind of stuff. He's a wonderful man who loves the town of Chelmsford. And he's being presented with this award, and he well deserves it. And when you go by that house, it's beautiful on the outside. All right, Andy? Here's the award he's getting. Okay, Andrew Wilson.
Bernie said I was going to talk about the history of the house. I'm not, okay? There's just one story that I have to say, and that is a bit of confusion, okay? I'm on the Historical Commission, and we know and love this house as 6 Billerica Road. All our documentation, Jane Drury, all through time, it's always been 6 Billerica Road. If you look at the picture that's on your agenda, you will see there's written, if you look very carefully, the address that's written over the door is 1 Chelmsford Street. If you ask the post office where to send the mail, Andy will tell you the rest of the story.
3 Chelmsford Street. So, thank you very much. This is quite an honor. And it's been a fun exercise to get ready for tonight. It really was a trip down memory lane, going through old pictures of the building and scrapbooks that both my mom kept, and we had a pet. Can everyone hear me okay without the microphone? We had a manager, pet Darren, who ran the office like a small family. She kept scrapbooks of everything that happened. So I had reams of information to go through to find pictures and stuff. And it was a very sentimental journey, I have to say. But this is really an honor. If I could do a good Billy Crystal imitation, I'd say I want to start honoring with the society, and then I want to honor the district commission and all my agents. And but this is really nice. The first fact that I found out about the building that's very interesting to me is no one knows where it came from. Everything that I found said that it came from somewhere down Turnpike Road on the other side of the river on Old Turnpike Road off of Route 129. So it's interesting to be talking about a building that homework for Fred is to find out where the building originally sat, because I couldn't find it, and I don't know. So first I'm just going to go through, most of my talk's going to be fun stories that I remember about working on the building and my involvement with the building. But I want to go through your historical society. So the first thing I want to do is give you a quick history of the building. It was moved from somewhere, I guess I'll hold this. So the building was moved from somewhere east of Turnpike Road in 1810. The person that owned it then had a glue making business in it. At that time, it was only 4 rooms. A lot of you have probably seen colonials in Chelmsford that are only 1 room deep, and there's 2 rooms in the front and 2 rooms above it. Those were the 4 rooms that were facing Billerica Road. That was moved, and then in 1830, Joseph Bailey ran a bookbindery there, and more than likely bound books for the school that was there in 1831. That showed up on a map somewhere. And then the Episcopal Church, before they had the church that everyone knows, the beautiful stone church in the center, 2 of the rooms in the building were the Emmanuel Chapel. And so there were church meetings there for a long time, from 1868 to 1882. And then in 1879, they began construction of what we now know as All Saints Church. Back then it was called the Episcopal Church. And in 1882, the Episcopal Church was consecrated by the church, St. Anne's Church in Lowell in 1 Chelmsford Street. I'm going to refer to the building as 1 Chelmsford Street, and I'll give you the history of that. I never knew it to be 6 Billerica Road. I couldn't find any historic records, and Fred said, you need to look under 6 Billerica Road, and then I found all kinds of information. When my dad bought the building, the postal address was 3 Chelmsford Street, but there was no 1 Chelmsford Street. So Dad, being a marketing person, thought 1 sounded a lot better than 3, and just kind of commandeered 1 Chelmsford Street. So 1 Chelmsford Street was put everywhere. Eventually the post office got on, and we still got our mail. So that's some of the history of the house. Then I don't like the word tenements, but that's what they call it in history. But the building was made into basically what we would know as a two-family now. There were two apartments there. And it was interesting to me that a large number of families came and lived there for a short period of time. A lot of them had something to do in the church. Some families would winter in Lowell and then come to Chelmsford for the summer, which is hard for me to imagine. Let's go to Chelmsford Center for the summer. I'm sure everyone in the room knows Reverend Wilson Waters, who wrote the prime book about the history of Chelmsford. It was 893 pages long. It was the most comprehensive collection of the history of Chelmsford that's been put together. He lived in the building for 41 years as the rector of the Episcopal Church. And then he jumped forward. There was not much I could find in between here. But in 1973, Joan Drury, who did a lot of work for chronicling the history of the town, was writing in the Massachusetts Historical Register. And she wrote, "This house will probably be torn down within a year to make room for another bank," in 1973. That's kind of interesting. And luckily, the building survived until 1980, when the town created the Center Historic District, which encompasses over 40 buildings in the center that now will never be torn down. So I'm just going to walk you through some pictures that Fred put together. This is a picture that was in black and white, and I asked Fred about coloring pictures. He colored this picture in front of me in about 5 minutes. It looked like a magic act. It's quite remarkable. But this is what it looked like in 1895. This is actually Route 129 heading out of the center. What we know as 129 heading out of the center. This is a rare picture of Reverend Wilson Waters in front of the building in 1895. The hurricane of 1938 came through Chelmsford, knocked one of the biggest trees in the center down, and there's only a little bit of damage you can see up here at the edge of the roof. I was very lucky that the tree didn't go in a different direction. This was a picture in 1971, which just a few years before my dad bought it. And I look at that picture and I think, boy, if I was ever going to decide on a color for the building again, it would be black and white. I think it's beautiful. This is 1976, and this was last year with ELA. So my story starts way back in 1964. Don't worry, it's not going to be that long. My dad always wanted to be in real estate as a teacher for 10 years in Billerica, and got tired of being a teacher. And this sign went up in front of the house that I grew up in on Main Street in Chelmsford in 1964, and that's me, yeah. So people ask me when I started real estate, and I say 1964. My dad. So my dad worked for Brad Emerson, and my mom worked for Brad Emerson and Emerson Real Estate for a long time. And this is Dennis McHugh's building in the center now. And in about 1974, my dad was working in this office here for Brad Emerson, running his new homes division. And he said, "Danny, look out the window at the building across the street." He said, "I'm going to buy the building across the street and start a real estate company." And it was a mess back then. This is a better picture of it. I remember looking out the window and seeing vines and fallen trees and a lawn that wasn't taken care of, and saying to myself, "Well, Dad knows what he's doing. He'll figure it out." And this was when the real estate company opened in 1975. He couldn't afford to, growing up, we ate a lot of rice and peanut butter and jelly for my dad to save money to invest in real estate. And when he bought this building, this one room right here was the real estate company. And the entire rest of the building was rented out to pay for it. He liked that corner because he said he had dual frontage. Yeah, frontage on Route 129 and frontage on Route 110. And people could go in and out either door. There wasn't a lot of technology back then. This is his first room. It's in the building, and it's basically one desk, 2 chairs, and a plant. That was the extent of the real estate office back then. There's a phone here, and I can still remember my dad showing me the first technology that I ever saw in real estate. And he took the phone and he's looking at it. It's got 3 buttons. And called up my mom and he said, "Hold on." We put her on hold. We called up my grandfather. We said, "Chris, are you there? Dad, are you there?" And they talked to each other. He said, "See, I'm talking with 3 people at the same time." I thought it was remarkable. Imagine what do you think about today. One of the things that really struck me looking at pictures as I went through them was just, this picture really struck me because this is what the inside of the office used to look like. Every room was like a little living room, and it was my dad's idea that people would feel more comfortable and at home if they could come in and sit on a couch and chairs with you and talk about what they wanted for real estate. There were desks too, but most of the rooms looked like this. It was kind of funny. It's a shocking comparison. I didn't bring the inside pictures of today, but today the floors are gray, the walls are gray. There's little stand-up white desks with nothing on them, and it's just dramatic difference. One of the tenants that my dad had a candle lighting business, and he invented in the basement of the office the first candles that flickered, and they were made out of beeswax and what he called altered light bulbs, and this made my dad very nervous about a fire. He would have, well, you can see all the lights in that picture. Every one of those candles is a flickering, altered beeswax light bulb. And my dad was sure the building was going to burn down. He would have a lot of arguments with the tenant about how many lights should be on. And he'd send me in at night to sneak in and shut lights off. So they wouldn't be on all night long. Eventually, that business took up more than half the building, and then they outgrew the building and moved down the street, got even larger, and they had a massive, massive fire. About a year and a half after they left the building. My dad said, "Well, that was a close one." Some of these pictures are just to show technology coming into the business. It was a time when there was nothing more than the office than phones and a typewriter. And then I can still remember the first Apple computer with a dot matrix printer. The hard drive was 20K and had to warm up for about 2 minutes. And when you turned it on, it would whir, it would slowly. When you stopped whirring, you knew you could use it. The 20K, and most thumb drives are gigabytes now, so it's just a ridiculously small computer. It was a family business. My mom and I worked in the business. I worked, like Bernie said, I'm surprised that Bernie knew it, but I worked a lot in the building with my grandfather. And one of the things that was a problem in the 70s is that there was no repository for data. And both agents and appraisers needed to know what houses sold for and when they closed. So if they were doing a appraisal on a house that was a ranch in Chelmsford, without a central database, you had to either go down to the registry of deeds and or look through old newspapers and look at what closed. And it was very hard to put together an analysis of what a house was worth. So my mother would take the black and white MLS books. There were 4 pictures on a page, 4 listings on a page. She would cut the pages up, look in the newspaper, match the address on the listing with the newspaper, and write on the thing what date it closed and what it sold for. And these would get filed in a box by street in town. So you still couldn't sit at a computer and say, "Give me the ranches that sold in October." You had to look by street and pull out cards for ranches Well, we had, number one, it made the agents in the office very, very efficient because they could do a study on what a home was worth much quicker than anyone in any other company. And then we had appraisers come from far and wide to look through this database to use it because they could do their work much, much faster. And I made the little wooden boxes that all the cards were in. I must have made dozens and dozens of wooden boxes of cards. I wish I had one to bring in to show you. This is a wall that we tore down. Linda did all this hand stenciling in the office all the way around this room. And she's looking at the last of her stencil and it's about to get ripped out. My grandfather and I could never figure out why there were so many tiny little rooms in this building, and we were more often than not tearing walls out to make rooms and spaces bigger in the office. So this is the first Century 21 signs. This is 1986 roughly, when Dad bought the first Century 21 franchise, and I was sure he was off his rocker once again. No one had ever heard of Century 21. It was the first Century 21 franchise in Maine. A lot of people had never heard of it. It was a new thing in California. He had been to California. He said, "Don't worry." I said, "Dad, I think you've lost your mind." He said, "Don't worry, I've been to California and I've seen what Century 21 was in California. It's going to be a big thing." He was right. Let's see what year this was. Bruce Freeman in 1982 was up for election. Bruce was a wonderful man for Chelmsford. We have the bike trail to attribute to him. He had a lot to do with the initial work of getting the beginning work done to widen Route 3. We have Freeman Lake named after him because he was instrumental in getting the money from the state to build the dam. He was up for election. My dad thought he would help him out and have the Republican headquarters in the office. And my dad actually took down his real estate sign, and this sign went right here for Bruce Freeman's reelection. And later on, my dad took me aside and he said, "Learn from this, Andy. This was a big mistake. A large percentage of people in Chelmsford are Democrats, and they probably lost their business putting this sign up here. Should have made a donation to Bruce Freeman's campaign and left it at that." My dad was a school teacher for 10 years, so he always had a lot of life lessons. Always teach you. Great.
I'm married to a teacher, so she's always teaching.
In 1985, I was working at the office. Luckily, I was working inside. A car came down Route 110 from Westford towards Chelmsford, because there were no lights back then. It went right through the center without slowing down, hit the curb in front of the building, was launched across the front lawn, missed the sign, installed the lights that were installed to light the sign up because it went over them, and took out a whole row of bushes that were, this is a horrible picture. Can you believe that was a picture in the newspaper in 1985? That's all the bushes wiped out that were in front of the building on the 129 side of the building. And that's me holding up a shutter so that this portico was actually knocked right off the building, and the steps behind me were pushed out of the way too. So. This picture I just put in because one of the additions that my dad put on was up in this whole area, got a second floor, and this shows that. Oops. This shows that space. So that created one huge meeting room. Until then, we didn't have a place in the office where everyone could meet together. And that really changed the nature of the company. Pat Darren being the kind of manager she was, we had birthday parties there, engagements, wedding ceremonies, all those kinds of things were held in that room. I had my bachelor party there, and that's my belly dancer. I have to say that my bachelor party, some of my friends are here that were at my other bachelor party. But I have to say, this was a pretty raucous and rowdy bachelor party. And that's the Kate Gillas, the youth of Andrew Wilson in 1990. And there's some of you will know Dennis and Bernie Reddy. That's at one of the, probably a baby, someone had a baby in the office. I don't know who that was. Bernie, do you have any idea who that is? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's my dad and I cooking breakfast for everyone. This room allowed us to have a lot of agent functions where everyone got together. We'd have agent breakfasts and team building kind of things there. And that's what that room on a typical time would have looked like. Every year for many, many years, we had an open house Christmas party, and Santa Claus would come. Does anyone know who Santa Claus is? I was a prominent attorney in town that's now retired. It's the clue that I'll give you. Not John Ferlin. John could make a good Santa, though. No, this is Howard Hall. Howard Hall would come to our Christmas parties every year dressed as Santa.
You're driving that get up all the way from Maine, I bet you, right?
I know, right? This is before he was in Maine.
Oh, really?
He used to be in the Fisk House. His office was in the Fisk House across the street.
Right.
Another thing that Pat Darrett would have coordinated was singing Christmas carols on the front lawn of the office, which really feels like another time, so long ago. Sometimes people that had instruments would come and play. So the Chelmsford motto is, let the children guard what the sires have won. I asked Siri what a sire was, and she said some kind of a domestic breeding animal, usually a racehorse. So that might need some updating, I don't know. But my dad took care of the building for more years than I did, so his presence is very much with me here tonight. I'm the person I am because of him, and he's as much deserving of this award as I am because he took care of the building for a very long time. That's all I have. Anyone have any questions?
Andy did a good job.
Yeah.
He answered all the questions, yeah.